today, so hopefully we can catch up a little bit. Okay, Rav Bava Bar Shmuel. So we're back to we're still involved in the measurements, and so the fourth line, the last two words. Rav Bava Bar Shmuel talking Kaila Bar Plata Kapizi. So Rav Bava Bar Shmuel made a measurement that is going to be called a Kapizi, and it's going to be 9 lugin. Will be 9. This is a new. This measurement is going to involve 9 lugin. 3 kapizi, which is going to be 9 lugin. 1 cup is 4 carbon minus 1, meaning it's 3 carbon, which is going to be 9 lugin. So the problem was everyone thought that he took the measurement that was involving 6 lugin and he raised it to 9 lugin. Now we said you can't raise measurements more than a sixth from the total. In this case, from 6 to 9, so you're going up a third from the total, right? Mm-hmm. So Amru Leiva Amar Shmulin was even Alamidos Yoser Mishtos. You can't do that. You can't raise it more than a sixth. So I'm not raising it. Amar Lahu on a Bikini. I established a new measurement. He didn't take the 6 and raise it. He made a new measurement, and therefore it wasn't a problem. So Shadri le Pumpadisa velo kibluha, Shadri le Pampune vekibluha. So they sent this idea to Pumpadisa, making a new measurement of 9 lugin. They weren't so happy. Velo kibluha. Either they thought it was too close to other measurements, or you're not raising, you're just changing. They don't like that. But in Pampunya, they did it. They were makabelet. The Kollel Ruse Papa, and they called it Ruse Papa, like the secret of Papa, and it was Papa's measurement. Okay, now we have one of these simanim, otre peiros, people who gather up fruit. So ein otrin, don't gather, vein otzin, and don't remove, vein mishtakin, don't do business with them. Pa'amim abeitzim, sometimes with eggs. Masrin, below otzin, you cry out and you don't remove. So that's the mnemonic. So now the first one is Tanu Rabbanon, otre peiros, people who really gather up the fruits. Melave beribis, people who lend with interest. Maktine efor, they lessen the measurement amount. Mafkiye sharim, or they mess up the marketplace value for things. They raise the price of the market, inflation, or So alei and akasav, on them, it says the following pasuk in Amos. Lemar matai yavor achodesh, when's this month going to pass? V'nashbira shavar, you're going to collect all your produce. The Shabbos v'niftecha bar lahaktin efo lahagdil shekel ha'avetz ma'ozne mirma. So this pasuk is referring to all these different types of people. So the Rambam explains that. It says, when's this month going to pass? These are the people who really are raising up the prices. They're waiting for the month to pass where they sell normal things. And at the end, when they finish selling the produce, they're going to take the produce and sell it for much higher. And then they're going to raise the prices of the marketplace. So that's Vinishpra Shavar. That's Mafkiya Sharim. Okay. The Hashabbos Viniftecha Bar. So what's Shabbos here? If that refers to, Rashbam says, the year of Shemitah. That when is Shemitah going to come? Viniftecha Otros Bar, that's going to open up the storehouses full of produce. Behind Otre Peiros. It's people who like to store, they like to hoard the fruit. They're waiting for Shemitah to come. They can take all the ownerless fruit and store it. Lahagdil Efo, these are people who lower the measurements. Lahagdil Shekel, these are people who Lahagdil Shekel refers to people who lend with ribis. Right, ribis is interest. So, if you're lending $10, you can't ask for more than that in return. Okay, the ksiv, and then the next pasuk, really 2 psukim later, it says, Nishba Hashem begoin Yaakov. So God swore in the height of Jacob, the height of Yaakov, im eshkach lanetzach kol ma'aseim, that he's going to find all these deeds. Meaning not to worry. These deeds are going to have their punishment. Yeah. Okay. So now, Who are these otzrei peiros? People who collect the fruits. Kegon man, Rabbi Yochanan can go shapsi otzrei peiros. This is like shapsi otzrei peiri. He would collect he would hoard up all the fruits, and then he would sell them to poor people for a higher price. So poor people are always relying for their basic needs. So people had a good business idea. They'll take all the basics in society, they'll hoard them up in their house, and when they see a poor person who's desperate, they'll charge him a lot of money. So that's a big problem. Or there are people who they take the fruits when it's very low, when the price is very low, and they buy a lot of them, and they sell it to the poor people. Okay, for more. So that was this guy Shapsi Otzer Peiros. So now, Avua de Shmuel, the father of Shmuel, and Shmuel each had two different practices, and they tried to help. We're going to see which one was a better practice. Avua de Shmuel Masin Leperi Basra Charfa Kitara Charfa. So Avua de Shmuel. So Betara Charfa means when the season just starts, the season of selling whatever produce. When that season begins, so what would he do? He would Maznu Leperi Betara Charfa Ke Tara Charfa. He would sell things in the beginning when the threshing floor just opened up, right when the season starts. Ki Charfa, he would sell it for very little. So in the beginning of the season, things are sold for less money. He would go and sell it for less money, so that the marketplace would go down. He would sell things for cheap. That way, hopefully, things will cost cheaper. And he did this. Yeah, and Shmuel. What did Shmuel do? Shmuel the son, Mashi Leperi. He would hold on to his fruits, his produce. Umazvin lehu betara afla. He would sell it betara afla at the end of the season, when everyone was selling it for a lot of money, but he would sell it kitara charfa. He would sell it for very little money. So those are the two practices. Either you sell in the beginning for less, or you sell when it's expensive, you sell it for less. Yeah. So Shalchu Misam, so they heard about these two practices. And they said, Tava de Abba midebra. Greater is the acts of the father than the son. Why? Meaning, why was selling things in the beginning of the season for less better than selling things at the end of the season for less? My taima, Tara de Ravach. That 1 second. The father, by selling stuff in the beginning of the season, he would make sure that the market would try to go down, right? So if you would sell things for cheaper in the beginning of the season, hopefully everybody would sell things for cheaper. But if you wait till the end, so the whole market season, everyone is buying things for a lot of money. And at the end, now you're trying to lower the market, so that's much harder. So the market itself is succeeding. So the father of Shmuel, who attempted to lower the price in the beginning of the season, his act was greater. His act towards the poor people was a greater act than that of his son. Okay, Amarav, Osa Adam es Kavo Otzer. So a person basically makes his he collects a lot of food. He collects a lot of produce. He makes his house a place where he collects a lot. So that's fine. The little bit of kav that he has, he can store, he can keep. So meaning, we said that people hoard fruits. What's the problem of hoarding? So the Shmuel explains, a guy who just collects the fruits from his own backyard, that's fine, because he says Hashem gave you, and you're allowed to have that. That's fine. But the problem is when you go to the shuk and you collect all the food from the shuk, from the marketplace, and you store that, that's going to be a problem. But for your own, you planted your tomatoes in your backyard. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. So, Tanya Nami Hachi Ein Otrin Peiros Dvarim Sheish Ben Chayin Nefesh. One should not store. We're talking about storing from the marketplace. You shouldn't take too much of things that are really Chayin Nefesh, that people really rely on. Ein Otrin Peiros Dvarim Sheish Ben Chayin Nefesh. Kigon Yenos Shmonin V'Salatos. Wine, oil, and fine flour. And toilet paper. Aval tavlin, kamon, so different spices, maybe cinnamon, pilpulin, pepper, mutter. That's mutter. So when are we talking about? We're talking about where you buy from the marketplace. Aval b'machnes mishalo, if you go and take from your own backyard, things that you grew, that's fine. So once again, you see a difference in collecting from the marketplace and removing all their produce is different than the ones in your backyard. Now what happens when you collect all the produce from the marketplace? So you go to a farmer's market, you go to the marketplace, and you collect all their tomatoes, all their apples, all oranges, all the potatoes, everything. What are you doing? You're taking it all. You want to sell it for more. So you're ruining the market. So now people that could afford, in their budget, basic needs, now because you collected it all and are going to sell it for more, they no longer can afford their basic needs. But if you're growing tomatoes in your backyard, so then that doesn't affect the poor people at all. That's helpful for you. Yeah. Let's repair it. So you're allowed to collect 3 years of produce. For 3 years, you can collect an Eretz Yisrael. You can store your food. What are those years? Erev Shvius. You can collect Erev Shvius. V'Shvius. You can collect during Shvius. Umotzi Shvius and Motzi Shvius. Those years you can collect. You collect for the 6th year, meaning in the 6th year you can collect for the 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year. What's going to happen? You're worried. The 7th year you can't work the land. All the food might die. So you might not have food in the 7th year, and then you're not going to have food in the 8th year either because you couldn't grow anything. So you're allowed in the 6th year to collect for year 6, for year 7, and for year 8. Yeah. However, ubeshani batzores, if it's a time of tremendous drought, the time of famine where food is very scarce, beshani batzores afilu kav charuvin lo yatzor, not even one little kav of carob, one little measurement of carob, you shouldn't store. Meaning, in that case, if you even take the smallest amount, it might affect the marketplace in the smallest way. And in a time of famine where food is not available, even one little cob, even one little measurement of carob, if that can affect the marketplace in any which way, so then we're very worried. And Chazal said that you shouldn't do that because people are very much dependent during that time period. Amar le Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina lepuga. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina lepuga shama. He told Puga, his servant, Puk atzali peri shalishanim erev shvius v'shvius umot shvius. You saw he did this. He told his servant, collect food for me for 3 years. Year 6, year 7, and year 8. Tanar Rabbanon ein motzin peres meretz Yisrael dvarim sheish ben chayin nefesh. You shouldn't remove produce from Eretz Yisrael. Which produce? The one that a person is heavily reliant on, which is what? Yenos, wine, shmanim, oil, v'slatos, and fine flour. Now, why can't you remove it out of Eretz Yisrael? Let's see, I don't know. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira Matir, he allowed biyayin. Why? Mipnei shemamayit as a tifla. So he allowed, you can remove wine from Eretz Yisrael because wine causes inappropriate behavior. So as much as we can lessen inappropriate behavior, especially in Eretz Yisrael, we are going to do that. I see you can't remove from Eretz Yisrael food. It's going to affect the marketplace.
Not take produce from the land outside the land. And take produce out of the land of Israel to ensure it.
Because?
Rabbi permits taking produce.
Well, what does the footnote say?
Aborted products. Didn't say
No.
apply.
Same idea.
Produce.
Okay, same idea. So, yeah, same idea that removing food from Eretz Yisrael, I guess that's going to affect the marketplace, and it creates a shortage. So you don't want to create a shortage in Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Rabbi Dovid Gleizer said, but things that are going to help stop promiscuity and things like that are heavily encouraged to be removed. Ukishem she'ein motziin meretz l'chol, just like you can't remove from Eretz Yisrael to outside of Eretz Yisrael, kach ein motziin meretz Yisrael l'Suria, you also cannot remove it from Eretz Yisrael to Syria. Now, Syria, it's Gemara in Gittin, Syria was conquered by one person, I think it was by David Melech.
Right.
And there the Gemara has a machlokas when you have a real conquering, when you go and you expand the land. There's a conquering of one person, is that considered conquering enough that it's going to be considered actually a part of Israel or not?
Yeah, he annexed the land.
Right. So there's so since it's usher to remove from Eretz Yisrael to Syria, the Rashbam says why the kibush yachid lo shmei kibush. One person who conquers is not considered a conquering to the effect that we've expanded the borders of Eretz Yisrael, and therefore bringing it out to Syria is the same as bringing it out to Chutz La'aretz. Okay, the Rebbe, go on to the next page. The Rebbe matir hifraicha lehifraicha. So hifraicha sounds like it's the end of Eretz Yisrael and the beginning of Syria. So the very, I guess, like almost on the border, or on the border.
Yeah,
the total end. So there's a lot of exchange between each other. So like if you're moved from from one place 10 feet over, you're not going to affect the market too much because they go back and forth. So if you're in a bordering country, it has a lot of I don't know if nowadays, China's not close to America, but such a concept. There's a lot of back and forth. Portland, Vancouver. That's a better example.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Portland, Vancouver. So there's a lot of back and forth between them. Or maybe Texas Tree and Rabbi Row. I don't know. So, no, that's we don't talk to them. Yeah. So yeah. Tanur Rabbanon. Ein mishtakrim be'eretz Yisrael b'dvarim sheish ben chayin nefesh. So you shouldn't go and acquire from somebody to go sell in the shuk. So meaning now we're now discussing a middleman, someone who goes retail and wholesale. You shouldn't go to a private owner of wine and oil and fine flour and go sell it in the shuk. Now, the Baal Bayis himself can go sell it because that's his living. He can go get some wine and go sell it because that's how he makes money. But the middleman shouldn't do that. Yeah. So the Rashbam speaks out that generally when you go and make bread, let's say, right, you harvest wheat and you worked for it and you go. So when you're charging a person now for wheat, you're charging for the food and really for the effort that was put into it. So that's fine. That's fair. It's not going to affect the market too much or at all. But if you're someone who just goes, I go to Jules, take his bottle of wine, and they go sell it in the marketplace. So that we don't want. Okay. Ein mishtakrin be'eretz Yisrael b'dvarim sheish ben chayin nefesh kigon yenu shmanim muslatos. So Amru alav al Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah shahay shtaker b'yayin v'shemen. So he would go take wine and go sell it. B'yayin savarla Rabbi Yehuda, because you were helping remove things that can cause inappropriate behavior in Eretz Yisrael. And b'shemen, how come with the oil he could do it? The Asher, the Elazar ben Azariah, shchiach mishcha. It was very common. It was very common to have oil. Therefore, it wasn't a problem. But in general, what's wrong with someone taking things and go selling them in the shuk? What is it? Because it's going to affect. If you're selling it for the same price, why does it affect the market?
I think they told them basically
You would charge for more, right? If I go right, you mean I'm not going I'm not going to go buy from Jules $10 a wine and sell for $10. So then what do I gain? I'm going to buy from Jules for 10 and sell it for 11, and then all of a sudden now everyone's going to be selling. That's what's going to. Now wine that used to cost a lower price and oil is now going to cost a much higher price because everyone's taking basics and reselling it for more money. Yeah, so that's going to cause the market to go up, and that's why we don't want that. Taner Rabbanan, ein mishtaken pamim bebeitzim. Sometimes even with eggs, you shouldn't be this middleman. You shouldn't take eggs from somebody and then go sell it for more. Amar Mari bar Mari. So Mari, the son of Mari, said, Ligiba Rav Shmuel. So Rav and Shmuel argued, what's the case where it's going to be usher to resell eggs? Chad Amar al Chad Trey. The Chad Amar Tagar Letigra. So one said al Chad Trey that whatever he got for one dinner, he bought eggs for one dinner, he can't go sell it for 2 dinarim. That's what we're talking about. And the other opinion said Tagar Letigra. Tagar Letigra, he was saying you can't go take from one salesman and sell to another salesman. So meaning you can take from somebody and maybe go sell to someone who needs, but people who are the egg dealers, you can't sell it to one. You can't take from one egg dealer and sell it to another egg dealer.
But the guy's going to mark it up again.
Right. I mean, the first guy's going to mark up. Now you bought it from him for more. Right. Then the second guy who's just selling on the market, he has to buy it from you. So that's going to go up also. But other things that aren't as much as of a necessity, we're not so worried about. And they'll always be available to find for a cheaper price. Okay, Taner Rabbanan Masrian. So Masrian coming up from the word trua. So Masrian, in the Torah it says Zichron Trua, Yom Trua, as referring to Rosh Hashanah. So trua could refer to something as a shofar blast, but also trua can refer to crying out. So in fact, the Gemara says, what does the word trua come from? It calls it a yevava, a cry. Shofar itself is symbolic of a cry. So here it refers to really davening. Taner Rabbanan Masrian al pragmatia vafilu b'Shabbos. When it comes to business, that's went down, the market's gone down, you're allowed to cry out about this even on Shabbos. Usually on Shabbos we don't mention, we don't daven for things like this, but for sad things, for personal needs. But when it comes to business being low, so then even on Shabbos one is allowed to daven. Yeah. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, what's an example of this? Kigon klei pishton bebavel, v'yayin v'shemen be'eretz Yisrael. So if there's all of a sudden it becomes a big drought and there's a big necessity, or it's very expensive, let's say, in Bavel for flax, thank you, and in Eretz Yisrael for wine and for oil. Interesting here that it leaves out fine flour. Those three have been a group until now. Okay. The yayin v'shemen be'eretz Yisrael. If the price goes up on those things and now people are have a hard time acquiring them, then even on Shabbos we allow you to daven for this. So Amar Rav Yosef v'hu dizol v'shisa. Oh, the who dizol v'kam asar b'shisa. So what happened was it went down from 10 to 6, meaning it went down to it's only now at 60% of what it originally cost. So if it was dizol v'kam asara b'shisa. So the Rashbam explains that v'hu dizol, that such a drought, kolkach dakim asara begadim b'dimei shisa. So the price went down so much because there's so few of them now. I guess the price went down from if you could buy whatever you would pay for 10 items of clothing, so now you're paying for 10 items what you used to pay for 6 items. So it's almost down to 50% of what it was worth. Yeah. So that's something which needs a lot of davening for. I guess it means that they're much less around. So, okay, Taner about an ein yotzin Eretz Yisrael. Oh, so now discussing Eretz Yisrael and what you can remove, we're going to talk about now leaving Eretz Yisrael. Ein yotzin Eretz Yisrael l'chutz la'aretz. You're not to leave Eretz Yisrael to go to outside of Eretz Yisrael. Ela im kain amdu sasayim besela. Unless sasayim, there was that a large amount of food is now only cost a sela, meaning that's something which means it's a drought. Business is very, very bad. Sasayim, which is a lot, you can buy for a sela. It means there's no market for you. If I remember correctly, it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that it's usher if you're leaving Eretz Yisrael to leave Eretz Yisrael and live somewhere else. But there's three reasons why you're allowed to. I believe that they'll check. One is for business, one is to find a wife, and one is to learn Torah. You feel you can learn better as a Rebbe in America or something like that better, and you can go. But yeah, so you can't leave. Okay, so Amar Shimon, Emasai Bizman She'eno Motzi Likach, Aval Bizman Shemotzi Likach, Afilu Amda Sa Besela Lo Yatsa. So he argues and he said it all depends if you can be Motzi Likach. Yeah, so what's Motzi Likach? If you can find, I think, the same produce around, no?
One can find.
As long as you can still find these items, then you can't leave.
Find wheat for when is able
specifically
to
wheat?
Or
specifically. So, like that item. I mean, as long as if you can't find the item anymore, so then
disabled.
Specifically wheat. God, I guess once you can't find wheat, then it's really bad because then you can't live anymore. But even when the marketplace has gone down so much, as long as you can still eat, so then you can't leave. Now there's it comes up in Gittin. I believe there's a different of opinions of why one can't leave Eretz Yisrael. So the Rashbam here says why? Because when one leaves, meaning unless these things happen, you can't leave Eretz Yisrael. Why not? Because says the Rashbam, you're mafkia atzmo min mitzvahs. I remember correctly in the beginning of Gittin, there's other reasons given, but you're mafkia atzmo mitzvahs, meaning there are certain commandments you can only do in Israel. And therefore, if you're leaving Israel, so now you're removing yourself, you're mafkia yourself, you're removing those mitzvahs from yourself, and therefore that's why it's usher, unless there's a certain drought or you need livelihood. Oh, so now we're going to get to the story of Rus a little bit, the beginning of Rus, when we saw punishments for leaving Eretz Yisrael. V'chein ha'ir b'Shimon Yochai Omer. Rabbi Shimon Yochai said, Elimelech. So Elimelech, we know, was the leader of the Jewish people at the time in Eretz Yisrael, and he had two sons, Machlon and Vikilyon. Says the Gemara, Elimelech, Machlon, Vikilyon, Gedolei Hador Hayu. They were the leaders of the Jewish people. They were tremendous scholars. Uparnesei Hador Hayu, and they were the leaders. They were the heads of the Jewish people. So Mipnei Ma Ne'enshu, we know that they got punished. They left Eretz Yisrael and they died soon after. Mipnei, the Gemara says an amazing thing. Mipnei sheyatzu me'eretz l'chutz la'aretz. They left Eretz Yisrael to chutz. If you look at the different commentators there in Megillas Rus, so they're gonna expand they're gonna expound upon this reason, meaning they should have stayed and sustained their people. They gave up on their people, but here we're focused on the idea that they left Eretz Yisrael to chutz la'aretz. Who said that they were allowed to do that? As it says that, but the home kol ir aleim b'tomarna hazos Naomi. So what happened was, when Naomi came to Beis Lachem, she came back at the end of the first parak of Rus. They came back. People saw Naomi and they couldn't believe it. that she left with a husband and two, and two children. And then all of a sudden they see her now. But Tomarna, they said Hazos Naomi. This is Naomi. So says the Gemara, what does it mean? My Hazos Naomi. Amr Rabbi Yitzchak, Amru. They say, look, Chazis and Naomi. Look at her. Look what happened. She yatzas me'eretz l'chutz la'aretz. And Ma also, what did she come back with? Came back with nothing. So Amr Rabbi Yitzchak. So now that we're speaking about Rus and the danger of leaving Eretz Yisrael, now we're going to expound about very, very interesting things that next time you see Rus, it'll enlighten us. V'Amr Rabbi Yitzchak, Oso Hayom Shebasa Rus Hamoaviyah Eretz Yisrael. That day that Rus the Moabite came to Eretz Yisrael, that exact day, Mesa Ishto Shel Boaz, Boaz's wife, right? They're going to end up in the 4th chapter getting married, right? And having Obed, and Obed's going to end up being the grandfather of David and Melech. So that exact day that Rus came to Eretz Yisrael, Boaz's wife died. Says the Rashbam, this teaches us that Hashem precedes a cure, an illness with a cure. He's makdim refuah l'maka, right? He always, whenever there's an illness out there, there's a cure ready to go. So he's makdim refuah l'maka, and says the Rashbam, v'yesh lo la'adam liftoach b'akadosh baruch hu. What's the idea that there is a cure created before an illness? Says the Rashbam here, in order that a person should trust in Hashem, that when something negative happens, so an illness happens, don't think, where's the cure going to come from? The cure's already been created. You might not see it now, it might not be revealed to you, but the same way Boaz lost his wife, terrible. He's the head of the Jewish people. He doesn't know what's going to be, but Hashem already prepared it by Rus coming in. And the same thing with Rus. She came with nothing. The Medrash describes she came barefoot. She was a princess in Moab. She came with zero. She came barefoot into Eretz Yisrael, not knowing what's going to be, gave everything up. But little did she know, that exact day, Boaz lost his wife, and Hashem was preparing everything to help her out. So, V'hainu da'amri inchin. This is like the saying that people say, Adilo shachev shichva kaimamanu baise. That until a person, up until a person dies, there's someone that was created who's gonna fill its stead. Who's gonna take his place. Yeah. Amar Rabbi Baruch Huna. Amar Rab. Now, Afton ze Boaz. Who was Boaz? Boaz was Afton. Who was Afton? He was referred to in the time of Shoftim. It's a little bit unclear when exactly the whole Rus story happened. Rus starts off by Hivimei Shvot HaShoftim. It happened in the time of the judges. Well, the time of the judges was 400 years. So I don't know. I don't know when it was. So says the Gemara, you should know Afton that's mentioned in Shoftim ze Boaz. That's referring to our Boaz. Okay, my Kamashman, what are you teaching me? So I'm teaching you like the following statement of Rabbi Baruch Huna. Rabbi Baruch Huna, Amar Rav. So this is fascinating. Rabbi Baruch Huna Amar Rav said the following: Meya ve'esrim mishtaos asa Boaz lebanav. Boaz made 120 feasts for his children. Shinamar, as it says, Vayhilo shloshim banim v'shloshim banos. It's amazing. Boaz had 30 sons and 30 daughters, and shalach achutza v'shloshim banos hevi lebanov. So 30 daughters he sent out to go get married, and 30 sons and 30 daughters he brought in for his sons. So this is a big family reunion, right? So 30 sons. Let's do our simple math here.
How many wives did he have?
So 30 sons married 30 women. That's 60, and 30 women married, 30 son-in-laws. Steve's thinking that many son-in-laws. Okay, but see, it's 120 people, so he made a feast for all of them.
He had about 10.
So, V'yishafet es Yisrael sheva shanim, and he judged the people 7 years. For each one of the feasts, for each one of the weddings, he made 2 feasts. So he made a total of 60 weddings. For those 60 weddings, he made 2 feasts. When? It was very nice of him. Echad bebayis, echad bebeis aviv, echad bebeis chamav. right? One in the father's house, meaning his house, and one in the father-in-law's house. So they had a vort in their house, and they had a vort in the in-laws' house. Ubekulan now, Ubekulan in all these 120 feasts, lo zimin es Manoach. He did not invite Manoach. Manoach was the father of Shimsh. No, sorry. It was, right? No, 1 second.
He was at the time childless.
Right, that's what it was. Manoach was the father of Shimshon. At the time, he was childless. So Boaz said, Amar, Kudna Akra b'mai parali. So meaning he's going to come to me, and how's he going to repay me? So meaning, I think the commentators explain that didn't want to invite Manoach. Manoach had no children. He didn't want to invite him to a feast of his children. He didn't want to make him feel bad, right? He said, how's he going to repay me? Man, he doesn't have any children. So however, at the end of the day, he did make him feel bad by not being invited to not one of 120 feasts. The Kulan, but my parley to how's it gonna repay me? The Kulan Mesu B'chaya. All of Boaz's children, 120 children, they all died in his lifetime. The Hainu de Amr Inji, this like people say, B'chayecha dilata shisin shisin. So in a person's lifetime, B'chayecha dilata shisin shisin. In your lifetime, you had shisin shisin, meaning you had a lot of children, and then so Lamlich Ichpava Olid Chad de Meshisin Zaris. At the end of the day, you had all these children, but really one of them came out to be a Zaris, to be someone who's gonna be who's gonna, which is, here it's referring to David HaMelech. One of the children came out to be a Zaris, meaning someone who's very careful and of leadership quality, and that's referring to Boaz's one son. When Boaz marries Ruth at the end and has a son named Oved, Oved's going to end up being the grandfather of David HaMelech.
He carried on and begot one more child who will be more accomplished.
Right. He had 60 children. Then Ichbal, he went on and married it's like Kefal, like the double. He went and married again, and then he had one more son who was Zaris. Okay. I'm continuing. So now another simon. Melech Avram Eser Shanim Sheniftar Nisnase Levado. So these things to translate are like funny, but King Avram 10 years who passed away. Someone else, rose up on his own. Omer Chanan bar Rava, Omer Rav Elimelech. Continuing in the story of Rus. Elimelech, the Shalmon, Uploni Almoni, the Avi Naomi. So you have Elimelech. So Elimelech, the Shalmon, I think it's the Salmon. The Salmon was the father of Boaz. Ploni Almoni. Ploni Almoni is referred to as the Redeemer at the end of the Rus story. I believe he's Elimelech's brother.
Father of Naomi.
Yeah, right. He was closer to Boaz in terms of redeeming the ancestral field. Elimelech was Salmon Ploni Almoni, the Avi Naomi. So Ploni Almoni, I think Ploni was Elimelech's brother, I believe, and the father of Naomi. All of these people were Kulon b'nei Nachshon ben Aminadav Hain. They were all the children of Nachshon, meaning the descendants of Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nachshon ben Aminadav was the Nasi of the tribe of Yehuda, and he was the one at the time of the splitting of the sea. He was the first one to jump in. Everyone else followed him. So I'm assuming what it's saying is that these four had that leadership qualities in them also. So says the Gemara, "My Kamashman, what are you teaching me? That they happen to be his children, his descendants. Shafilu, even somebody avos, even someone who has schus avos, has the merits of their forefathers. Eino omedislo b'shoshiyotze eretz Yisrael l'chutz la'aretz. That's not going to help you if you decide to abandon the land of Israel and go outside of Eretz Yisrael. Amar Rav Chanan bar Rava Amar Rav. Okay, so this is interesting. Who was the mother of Avram Avinu? Yeah, you never hear about her. So her name was Amsale Bas Karnava. So who was the mother of Haman? We'll see why these are paired together. Yeah, Imei de Haman is Amsale Bas Urvasi. So now Amsale Bas Karnavo and Amsale Bas Urvasi. the simanich and a siman to remember this. Tame, tahor, tahor. So, the impure person's mother was impure, and the pure person's mother was pure. So, how's it translated over there? Carnival? Is it kind of bird? Karim?
Yeah, impure. Raven.
The raven, but how about the other one? Carnival, the one before that.
Then it said the sheep.
Oh, the sheep. Okay. All right. So the sheep. So carnival are tahor. Those are tahor. So you want to remember what the mother's name is. So Avram's mother was tahor. She was pure because sheep are kosher. And Haman's mother her name was similar to the name of a raven. A raven is not kosher. So tahor, tahor. Haman, the impure one, his mother was also, her name was like the name of was similar to a raven. A raven is impure. And Avram Avinu's mother was similar to sheep, and sheep are pure. Okay. Imei de David was Netzavis bas Adael Shma. Imei de Shimshon was Tzalaphonis ve'achte Nashim. So the mother of David was Netzavis, and the mother of Shimshon was Tzalaphonis. Says the Gemara L'mayin Afkamina. That's great. What do you tell me this for? What do I need it for? Says the Gemara L'chuvas Haminim. Apparently, that's interesting. Heretics used to ask about, who these mothers were. All these Avram Avinu, so much is spoken about him. Who was his mother? And all about Shimshon's mother is mentioned by a story of Shimshon, and who was his mother.